Hello, it is Thursday the 21st of October. I hope everyone's okay. We have seen quite an exciting market the last couple of days if you're in Bitcoin or some way long Bitcoin, but pretty much if you've been long anything else, it's been a little bit of a rough ride. In Nvidia we had earnings, they beat as usual. They gave really good forward guidance, and profit taking has seen a pretty little bit of a dip in Nvidia. Previously when that's happened, and we have seen profit taking on their earnings, the dip's been brought up and it keeps going. Certainly they didn't hint at any bad news, so I don't see any reason why that would not continue, but it will be quite interesting to see. In the crypto world, of course, the big story has been MicroStrategy and Bitcoin, which really was the only one. And so it was pretty gruesome the last 24 hours for people in anything else. So let's talk about why. Now, MicroStrategy is really unusual in a company because most companies either make stuff or provide a service. And the way that they, and their job is to provide value for shareholders. And they do that either by increasing the value of what they do or cutting costs. And MicroStrategy is basically you're buying their balance sheet. They're not providing a service and they're not doing anything else. Now, one thing good about that is at least it's really been clear for a very long time that that's what MicroStrategy is. It's just a bet on Bitcoin. There seem to be some other companies that want to copy MicroStrategy, which kind of makes, I think, it's not quite so clear or clean, because people will wonder, why are they adding, should we buy that share just because they hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet? I don't think it's quite so clear. What's really unusual for me about MicroStrategy is that they are a very leveraged bet on Bitcoin. They issue debt and buy more Bitcoin. Whenever you sell shares or you issue debt, you dilute shareholder value, and normally that would be a negative for the stock price. Whereas because Bitcoin is going up and it's a leveraged bet, it's not happening. They are diluting shareholder value, and yet the stock price just keeps rocketing. And so as long as that keeps going, it's all well and good, right? Nothing to worry about. If we look at MicroStrategy in this chart, let me take these off. If we look at MicroStrategy since, for example, this August the 5th low, when pretty much all the markets bottomed, and we overlay Bitcoin from that date, so we're starting from that date. Let's go down to a 4 hour and look at it a little bit closer. Okay, here's our low. We can see that Bitcoin from that August 5th low is up about 50-60%. Right, that's actually, here we go, 58%. Whereas MicroStrategy is up 250%. So that's like four and a bit times what Bitcoin is doing. And so for Wall Street or institutional investors, an opportunity for a leveraged bet on Bitcoin like this is very exciting, and it's going to work really well as long as it keeps going up. However, the problem is going to come with this one when Bitcoin has a little bit of a pullback, and we see what we do when that happens. We could argue about whether this is a good thing long term or not endlessly. Now, if we take a look at when we could also argue about what's driving it is buying in MicroStrategy, pushing the price of Bitcoin higher. When I look at it big picture, and we go back to 02 in this stock, we can see on the monthly, this is a stock that when it gets to key levels, for example, this 236 fib level here, we can see that quite often spikes above this level on a monthly and comes back and settles underneath it. We did that down here. We did this down here when I think we made our wave 3. And here we are in a really nice big extended fifth wave. In fact, this may be wave 3 of 3, and we've got way more upside. I'm not going to measure beyond that. So if we project then our fib levels and we stick with the ones that are working, so that's from the high in 2000 to the lows in 2002, you know, I always rely on the 236 fib as validation, and we certainly got a really good validation here. And from then on, all of these other fib levels have worked. Even if we've blasted through them, we've always shown a little bit of, we can see it, this 786 was the high last month, and then it was the support. So these fib levels do all kind of work really well in MicroStrategy, and here we are in a really extended swing. So at some point the party's going to end, and we're going to rely on these fib levels to see when that might be. Let me get a regular. Here we go. Now, when I look at where we are as we head into the open in the pre-market in MicroStrategy, we're trading up here at 535. That's quite interesting, because if we go back to the monthly, for me, this 535 is a pretty interesting 1.618 of this entire drop fib level, and I do rely on them. You know, we've blasted through the 1272, we've blasted through these previous highs. I'm not expecting this to be a reversal, but again, I like to trade level to level to level. So 538 on a daily and weekly and monthly close, and the monthly close is going to be not to the end of next week. This is going to be quite key. I'd like to see MicroStrategy close the month above 538 if we're going to keep going, and then 665 and 871. However, as Bitcoin gets closer to that 100,000 level, there is a possibility that we kind of overshoot this and then maybe have a little bit of a pullback. So that's what I'm watching out for, and those are the levels that I'm watching for in MicroStrategy on monthly closes. Let's take a look then at Bitcoin and see where there's some really nice charts out here. And so again, yesterday this broke out. If we look big picture at daily, I looked at this as a swing failure pattern, and we had a little bit of a pause and a pullback, but that didn't turn into anything, and it's just kept going. So if I look at my fib projection levels, and we do the same, as you remember, I had 90,000 as a pretty important support and resistance target based on, and we've, you know, confirmed that level, these fib projection levels, by the support and resistance price action that we saw at this level. So it was resistance, we kind of washed through it, and then it became support. So these fib levels, as in terms of projections, Bitcoin are working. And then for me, you know, I really feel 100 obviously is going to be a bit of a round number level. We're also going to say on a monthly, we really need to hold above monthly that 90,000 level, and not just see a spike above it or a big tail as we often do in Bitcoin. So as long as the end of November we hold above 90,000, then 100,000 is a big round number level, obviously. But for me, in terms of fib projections, 105, but I actually think 115 could be, if we see a really good blow off top, 115 should be next for Bitcoin. But really the end of next week and against that 90,000 level is going to be key. As long as we don't close back underneath it, that's where we are. So now, just like when we got to this 90,000 level, this isn't a level, it's not a short setup, it's just a target. You can take some profit at these levels, but they're not levels to be selling unless you get a really spectacular reversal. For me, they're just levels to watch. So I was thinking, and I have been watching closely, I was thinking that if this trade continues in Bitcoin and the big crypto Trump reflation crypto trade keeps working, will Doge and Solana and the ones that were really performing really well keep following Bitcoin high? Let's take a look at Solana. Now on the weekly, had a big fib projection level here at 241, and I've been watching the price action here on the 4 hour, and it looks like we've made a very nice, you know, bullish flag correction, and we're breaking higher. When you break out from a flag pattern like this, there's always a little bit of a glitch potentially when we retest the previous highs. People who didn't like the pullback might resell when we get there, or we might just retest these highs. And so we really kind of need to not only break out from this flag, but we need to make new highs. And then this level that we had identified initially as resistance, and which we tagged as resistance on Sunday the 17th, now needs to become support here at 241 if we're going to keep going higher. And if we do that in Solana, Again, you know, I'm working on wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 being over, and these fifth wave targets. The first trouble area level is going to be a retest of these previous highs here, 259, and if we continue beyond 259, I don't see any reason this doesn't get to 323, just because these levels have been working, and this again is starting from this low here. These levels on lower time frames as well have been working really, really well. So that's what I'm looking for. Previous highs, though, are always a bit of a trouble area, and they will be for Solana. And that's kind of what we need to push beyond. I would be more concerned if we tag this high and pull back and close the month underneath 241. But if we hold and keep pushing above it, this is one of those levels I'm going to keep looking for it to be support. I took some profit in Solana and Doge around these levels, and I'm watching this very cautiously when thinking about a buyback. One thing that does maybe be an issue is, for me, third touches of trend lines. So if we connect these highs, third touches or trend lines very often are a little bit of a false breakout first. And that kind of validates the trend line. Then you've got 3 touches of it, but then if it blasts through, so we've already done that. If we keep going, then yeah, we're going to look for the previous highs next, and then 259, a retest of the big long-term highs in Solana. And if that happens, will Doge break out of this sideways consolidation as well? If I look at Doge here, again, on the weekly, we are sideways at a big 50% retrace of the all-time highs in 2021 to the lows that we pulled back to in 2022. We validated these fib levels with a really good reaction at this 236 fib. So here we are sideways for me at an important level, and it looks like we're consolidating. Now I was expecting a wave 4 here in Doge, and I kind of got out of the way while it went sideways and put my money to work in other things. And here we are. One warning I would say about this, we've done this first touch, second touch, third touch, false breakout. Wave 4s can quite often be triangles or wedges, you know, declining wedges, rising wedges, those kind of little patterns. And that's exactly the kind of pattern we look like we're setting up here. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's the 5th wave, lower. So when this is over, we should continue higher if we're going to. And next up, for me, targets, I'm going to use these fib levels, 0.47, 0.59, and then a retest of the highs at 0.73. Now, when I look at this, you can see previously within this consolidation, this is a 4-hour chart, these have been big 3-wave moves. It could be that we still need to do, you know, another swing lower. But I've noticed that quite often 5th waves in these consolidation patterns can be truncated or shortened. And so if we break out from this consolidation, that's the next swing higher underway than in Doge. So talking about the crypto recovery trades, one that I really like is, and one, you know, we see, for example, we've seen really strong moves in Ripple. Now that Gary Gensler is going to get fired and Ripple's back as a thing, we've seen really good moves in Ripple. One other company that's been really badly beaten down and is Binance, of course. And Binance's use is restricted in a lot of countries, and I am pretty excited, I think, that Binance is going to make a little bit of a comeback. And so BNB then for me becomes kind of quite an interesting token. So let's take I can't remember where I hit this one. It's not there. Let's move on and have a look. I bought a little BNB based on that little theory as well, because I see the same. I'm trying to find my BNB chart. Doesn't matter. I will. Got so many shitcoin charts. Let's just draw it. It doesn't matter, does it? Okay, so let's talk about why I like BNB. Let's look at it against Tether this morning now. we've been a little bit sideways. This is one where we retested the highs, and this is what I mean when you test previous highs. So we tested the 2021 highs here in BNB and had a little bit of a pullback. However, when I count from this, so this for me was a big three-wave correction, and when I count from the lows in 2022, I see this as a wave 1, 2, 3, and we're in a sideways in a wave 4, and we've been kind of stuck through at the middle here. There's been this level. If I put on the daily, there's kind of been this support and resistance level through the middle here, kind of around 600. It's maybe easier to see here on the weekly. And it looks like we're breaking and holding above it. So if we draw as a horizontal level, you can see on these weekly closes, very often these weekly closes are strong prices. This is why I say this weekly close for a lot of these markets are going to be really important. And so it feels like we had this really tough resistance level. We've got above it, we found support. And if I look at this on a 4-hour, this is looking very corrective. And this looks like a nice little 5-wave rally and a flag pattern here. So I'm thinking that BNB could break out of this. I really like it, buying it against this support, because I like buying it close to where I'm wrong. If we do another leg lower, if we get underneath this support and resistance level, it becomes resistance and I'm wrong and I will get out of my BNB. But for now it looks like we've had a little false breakdown of this level and we're bouncing really nicely. And if we break out from this triangle pattern consolidation, I think we're all set in BNB to retest the highs and potentially next leg higher. You know, Binance was, I think if Binance, I don't know, who knows? You know, they're all very opaque balance sheets with these companies, but it's stood the test of time so far. So I think that we could see at least to retest the highs and potentially new highs in BNB. So for me, this was a little post-Trump bet as well. So that's how I'm seeing the big ones at the moment, or the big kind of Trump reflation trades. Let's move on and look at some meme coins and what's happening with them, because they really did get beaten up yesterday, and there are some that I think that are quite interesting and have pulled back to interesting support. So let's take a look at where we are. First one we're going to look at is Pepe. Now this is an hourly chart. So Pepe, I had this as a little bit of a support level in Pepe. This previous low, if you draw it this way, this is always going to be, you know, you're still trending higher if you don't take out the previous lows, which basically, if I draw it better, is here on the 4-hour, and we're not. This also looks like very much like a very nice 3-wave correction. Now, the problem with corrections like this is they can quite often turn into bigger ones. So you'll do a very nice 3-wave correction, but if your rally just turns into a 3-wave, it's likely you're going to do another leg lower, and you'll need to watch out. But for now, this looks like a really nice big flagpole and a bullish pennant. Now, are we going to break out? We're right on the third touch, kind of false breakout. But for me, the momentum indicators, for me, this is a 4-hour buy in an uptrend. So I've bought a little back, and I would like to see if we can make new highs. Now, if we fail, if we only get halfway back of this drop, or if we can't make a new high, or if we roll over from a lower high, I'm wrong and I will get out of Pepe. But for now, you know, this very clearly, any way you measure it, is in an uptrend. And if I go out to the weekly on this one, these are levels that I would really like to see this push beyond, and here's why. For most meme coins, right, if you look at ABC projection levels, when I do it like this, we paused at this ABC level, didn't we? The problem is, and the problem I have with all of these charts is that these coins don't just start on Binance. Long before this was on Binance, this started somewhere else. And so when I'm measuring from the swing low, I usually like to take it down to 0, which is about here. Okay, and so that's important because it makes your confirmation level of that equal measured move a little bit higher sometimes. So for me, I would really like 2302 then becomes the level that I'm really going to watch, and I would like to see it move beyond this. And that would be the next leg higher. And then I'm looking for 3,364 in Pepe. I really do like this price action. It looks really corrective. It might be that we make a lower high and we do this. As long as I'm not going to be a bear on this one unless we close and hold underneath 1,600. So for now, this is just a little short term bounce back trade. My first target then for Pepe is going to be a retest of 2,302, and that's the level I really want to see us close and hold above on a daily basis if we are going higher, and those are my targets. And there's quite a few like that. So for example, let's take a look at, let's find them. So there's quite a lot of AI related coins that of course have got everyone really excited at the moment. One of them has been Goatsy. I'm just going to try and find it. I should have planned this. Okay, let's do this. I'll find it. So for me, Goat has pulled back to a really important support level. Again, this is another one where potentially, just like Pepe that we just looked at, potentially from these lows, we've made an ABC measured move. And if I bring this back to that, towards that zero, which is kind of around here, actually you can see it's a little bit higher. So these three wave pullbacks in all of these altcoins, when I'm looking at them, a retest of the highs is the first target. That's really kind of what we've got to then get above and hold above to keep going. And if we do that in Goats, because this looks like, in Goat, this looks like a really nice three-wave pullback, we really do need to make a new high because of these big projection levels. And if we do that, 187 next, and everything, you know, all of these coins that got beaten down are going to follow, beat Bitcoin higher. Those are the levels that I'm watching. Now, if I draw this as a channel, so for this correction that we're in, for example in Goat, if I measure from this high to low, this was a textbook equal measured move. We're trading back above that 61.8 level, so we might have a little bit of a wobble when we retest this trend line. And when I'm not sure, I like, actually let's draw it as a channel. I connect the lows like this. We might have a little bit of a wobble and a pullback here, but because of this equal measured move pattern, we should at least get to the 786 retrace of this whole move lower, and then see a pullback and then keep going higher. So I kind of like this one, but it does need to, if this is a flag, it really kind of needs to break out of this flag that we're in. And we could, if we draw it as a panel or channel, it's going to look like this. But if we connect the highs, this is where we're likely to hit our first resistance, probably around 121, 122. And we could have and then I would like to see a little bit of a shallow pullback there before we keep going. So if you're looking at this on a 4 hour and you think, gosh, this has gone a little bit beyond me, or just be careful and wait and see and maybe buy more on that breakout, I would expect to see a pattern like that. And because it's a third touch, we might see a little bit of a false breakout and a, you know, mess around at that level. But for me, this pattern is really bullish and looking pretty good. And there's quite a few like that. Peanut is another one. Here's Peanut. Very big 5-wave rally. I actually think we've got another leg higher coming. This was a textbook 50% retrace. My only concern with Peanut, now I think if one goes, they will all go, but my only concern with Peanut is whether this is maybe, you know, you can see this is 61.8 if I measure it this way. If I measure from this high, this was an equal measured move, but the level was a little bit lower. We didn't quite tag the measured move level that I was looking for. It's slightly lower at 126. Also, again, if I apply that rule, right? So instead of measuring from the low, because we don't know when this started, but we go from 0 in this, so down here, we can see that 50% retrace level is a little bit lower, and all of these other fib levels have worked really well, doing fib retraces from 0. So there is the potential in this one, before you get too excited, that we could see one more retest of the lows and make a marginal new low and kind of around 124 in peanut before we go higher. So a nice little oversold bounce setting up here. If they all bounce, they will. But this chart said to me, and quite a few of them do, say that we might end up having to retest these lows before we make a base in some of these assets. So watch out for that in peanut. There was a coin that I've been trading that starts trading today in Korea, which is pretty good news, and that was Toncoin. I bought a little bit of this one today, and here's why. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3-wave pullback, back to these swing lows, back to the weekly moving averages. This is not a new coin, this is a older coin. It's been around for a while. Again, if we go from these lows, all-time lows, let's look where that 50% level is. That's where we tagged. Happy days. This is from the all-time lows, not just this swing. So there's lots to like about buying this one, and I would like to see, you know, basically we've spent the whole last couple of months sideways stuck between these moving averages. So if we get some interest with this listing in Korea, I would like to see it break out from that. And when I looked at this short term this morning on the daily, when I saw the news, we can see that again we've made a very nice 3-wave pullback, exactly what you want to see. If we measure these swings high to low like this, it's not quite perfect, which makes me think this might be a declining wedge, and so we kind of do need to break out. And obviously if we don't and we fail here on this third touch test, kind of, well, we can't, you know, you see what I mean about a false breakout, and now we're trying again. Really would like to see us break out from here in this Toncoin. If we don't though, I'll get out of the way and wait for a better bottoming pattern, which quite often will be a double bottom or a retest of the lows or something like that. Quite often the tricky area, if you measure with an ABC like this, the tricky area will be halfway back. So if we do that halfway, here we are, like halfway back. So a close and hold above 5.5 would give me a lot more confidence that we come up here, retest these highs, and then keep buying pullbacks, and we've broken out. So Toncoin, TON, is one that I think looks pretty good too. Another one that looks pretty good today is Dogecoin, which is the meme coin, not Doge. What have I done with that one? I think it's out here. Here we go. Dogecoin. Why does this look good? Well, it should be obvious, shouldn't it? 5 waves up, 3 waves back. This is a very nice equal measured move correction? Not quite. If I measure, sorry, I'm a bit short of breath. Here we go. If I measure, we're sideways at the 61.8 level, and it could be that we get rejected by these moving averages and we still see another swing lower in Dogecoin down to the equal measured move level and this previous swing low here, which is around 1.3, 1.4, 0.1267 is where the equal measured move is. And to be honest, we could go quite a lot higher sideways within this range. One thing that says to me we're going to see a bigger bounce, I kind of like this bottoming pattern and higher low, but so 50%, right, is always a tricky level, but the first most important one is the 236 fib. And if we draw that in here in Dogecoin, that's what we're stuck underneath, 0.277. So I think we will be going up and we'll rally to at least 0.369 if we can close and hold above 0.277. That's the key level that we're watching, and it's, if we go left, it's pretty important support and resistance as well in this one. So that would say a bigger bounce in this meme coin as well. There are a few other coins that people have been asking or talking about. I'm not trading all of them, but they are looking pretty bullish. One of them is Fartcoin. So when you look at this, you can see 1, 2 really extended wave 3 and this pullback, and it looks like it's in this 5th wave. One thing I would say is these 5th waves can extend a long way. So this is gonna, I can't remember who asked me for this one. This one's gonna keep going until it doesn't. And if we measure the first wave, remember, I'm not going to measure from this low, but I'm going to measure from 0 because we don't know where this starts. Project it from here. For me, the levels that I would be watching is particularly is this 2.618 level, 0.41 and 0.54 next. But that's based on the rule that wave 1 and wave 5 are very often equal or have a mathematical relationship. 0.54, maybe 0.75. Bartcoin. I'm not trading this one. So one that I was trading was Happy Cat. I use it as an example of those 3-wave pullbacks that I like to buy. That has retested the lows and is bouncing again, so I'm still in that one, and that's still here. We've double bottomed. Here was the ABC, right? This is where I'm wrong. We have just retested this with a typical, crypto retest of the slightly lower low, and we're bouncing. I don't know if we're going to keep going up from here or whether I'm wrong. But we can apply the same rules. So if we measure from this high to the low, it looks to me like we're above the 236 fib from here, so it's looking pretty good. But where would the real trouble be? It's going to be this bigger 236 fib here, up here at 0.031. But yeah, I am still in this one. I held on for the retest. Let's see where we kind of go from here. Another request is a new AI related meme coin. This is Griffane a Solana one. Now, this is another one where we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to see a bigger pullback. So if you're not in this one, because when I look at a chart like this is too way up there. I want to buy pullbacks, and I want that wave 1 to be over and a really nice big pullback, maybe 50%, maybe 38.2, maybe back to this swing low. So when is this swing going to stop going? If I measure from the lows, and again, I'm going to go from 0 because we don't know when this started, or close to 0, as I can do it quickly here, like this. Let's do this in the settings. We'll get it exactly right. Get 0. If we're going to keep going higher in this one, 1958.01958 is the level we need to hold and push above if we're going to keep going. That's where we're having a little stall. Like if we look at, we've measured these fib levels from the lows, look how we're reacting at this 1.618. We got a little bit of a double top, but we got this 3-wave pullback. So this is a pretty key level for Griffane. If it's going to keep going higher, it needs to hold above and push above 0.01958, and if it does, the next target level is 0.02869, and at that point, well, maybe we might continue to 0.043, but then at that point we will have that wave 1 over, and we're likely to see that bigger pullback to get in. So if you're not in this one, just make it or put it on your watch list. What are you going to be watching for? A really nice 3-wave pullback towards the previous swing low, ideally. But yeah, looks good. Good luck.